And again, we welcome you back to Newsmax Now. Again, a live look at Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe holding a joint news conference right now with President Obama in the Rose Garden of the White House. We are hoping that the president is going to take some questions from the press there that have assembled and maybe to address the situation in Baltimore. Until then, we're going to keep an eye on this, and we will check back in if they discuss things other than that trade partnership that they've already discussed there today. Again, welcome back here to Newsmax Now. We're continuing our roundtable discussion talking about the trial out in Colorado of James Holmes. We were discussing this with criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Nathan, who's joining us live via Skype, and also Bob Harvey, who is with us here on the set. We wanted to wrap up this discussion about mental health. Recently, Newt Gingrich wrote an article about how the National Institutes of Health should double its budget because some things that really only the government can do, and he was talking about medical research. He's also talked about this in regards to mental health and how to deal with mental health. And we talk about these issues, Newtown, this one, as gun issues, but really, Bob, many times it's also the mental health issue, and that gets lost in this discussion.
I would say that 99.9% of the issue is mental health issue. I don't agree that the government belongs involved. I do believe that the medical field, which is the major problem as far as mental health care, needs to step up to the pump.
Jeffrey, before we move along to another subject, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that the government should get involved?
Oh, absolutely. There needs to be classifications of cuckoo people in this country to prevent them from having psychotic acts of violence against innocent Americans. And the only people that can make such a list and make it public is the government.
All right, so we'll agree to disagree. Moving along now to the other really big story happening today. Let's talk about what's going on in Baltimore. It's what everyone's talking about. We see these images, very reminiscent of what happened in 1968, especially for you, Bob, because that's where you went to high school.
It's one of my hometown. It's my hometown.
I can't imagine what this is like for you.
It crushes me to see it, and it does bring back memories. I was living there in 1968 when we had the riots from there. If anyone has a chance to look that up, do a detailed look in it. It's the last time that the National Guard was called in on a disturbance there, and a lot of people were hurt.
And you remember hearing gunshots. You were telling me this during the commercial break.
Gunfire from my house in South Baltimore you could hear in the neighborhood called Cherry Hill, which was right maybe a mile away.
So I heard people talking about this morning, 1968, here we are, 2015. Jeffrey, have we learned any lessons, or do we just keep making the same mistakes?
Well, in this circumstance, it's up to the government to control the crowd, and if they're not able to, they're going to have repeat conducts. A lot of the mayors have been opining that the fault is the fault of the government for allowing these individuals to come into Baltimore and create these acts of violence, and so it's a government control issue, as I see it.
And Jeffrey, what did you take of the mayor's statement? She's backed off of this a little bit, trying to defend herself, but she reportedly said we need to give these rioters, the protesters, some space.
Well, to leave them alone and just let them burn and destroy the town isn't exactly going to lead to anything good, is it? So you need to have a police presence. But in terms of what happened, I think there's been a lot of infiltration from individuals who don't even reside anywhere near to create this environment that's not that good for the United States, is it?
What needs to be done when you see this happen again? You saw it happen in 1968. Now it's happening again in 2015. We just saw it happen over the summer, Ferguson, what was going on in New York. Why are all these riots popping up?
That's a real simple answer to that. Our White House has set us back 50 years in race relations. That's the reason you're seeing what you're seeing. You have a city where there is a black mayor, there is a black chief of police. 70% of the police department is black in that city. They've let it be turned into a racial issue when in fact it's not. Listen, it is a tragedy that that young man is dead. If in fact the police officers killed him in cold blood, they need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But that doesn't give folks the right to be criminals.
Real quickly, though, I want to get Jeffrey's opinion on this. Do you see any conflict there with the police investigating the police?
Well, there'll be some oversights. The police investigate themselves all the time, send it out for further review. I don't necessarily see a problem with that. If improper procedures were followed in handling this decedent when he's in the back of the van and they taking sharp corners to rough him up a little bit and he happened to break his neck, that is too bad. That happens in the course of police activities all the time.
Right.
Not necessarily death, but it happens.
Jeffrey Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. Bob Harvey, thank you for joining us for our roundtable. Always good to have you.
Nice to be back.
Coming up next, those premium channels may be costing you a pretty penny, too much, if you ask ESPN. Which company it says may be overcharging its viewers. And the latest headlines that have everyone talking, but are they real or fake? The answers coming up.